In a dark and deep cave, a man suddenly wakes up. He looks around with confusion and fear. The place feels strange as he focuses. Memories begin to flood his mind. He sees the image of a sword, cold and sharp, stabbing him. "I die," he mutters, trembling. He was once a knight, a protector of people. He was strong and fearless, fighting against monsters to keep others safe. But now he was dead. His life had ended because of a sword from a demon tribe. He suddenly wonders if this is the rumored reincarnation. In many stories, it is said that souls are reborn after death. Curious, he decides to look himself. He bends down and suddenly, a strange image appears in his mind. A message that reads, "Behemoth Cub." He gets shocked. He remembers stories from his old world. Behemoths were enormous and terrifying creatures. They were disaster-class monsters that could destroy everything in their path, and it took an entire nation to deal with one. In his past life, he was a knight who fought monsters like the behemoths to protect people. But now he was one of those monsters. He heads to a nearby pond, and when he looks at his reflection, he freezes. Instead of seeing a fearsome monster, he sees a small orange cat staring back at him. Meanwhile, an elf named Aria is waking up to start her day. She changes into her clothes and prepares for a hunt. She grabs her twin swords, ready to face whatever monsters. Back to the little kitten who is lost in thought, trying to understand his strange situation. He wonders how he could go from being a knight who protected others to becoming a helpless kitten. Before he can think more, he finds a slim, dangerous-looking creature moves toward him. The kitten doesn't know what to do. It looks like the creature wants to eat him. He quickly checks his new abilities. He finds that he has a skill called Absorb Attribute. This skill lets him take the abilities of creatures he defeats. He feels a surge of power and shouts, rock howling. A rock is released from his mouth. The stones shoot out and hit the creature, defeating it instantly. The kitten feels weak from hunger and thirst. With no other choice, he tries eating the monster's meat. As he eats, he gains the creature's abilities. This discovery excites him, and he decides to collect more monster parts for later. While the kitten learns to survive, Aria is in a dungeon, navigating a labyrinth by boat. She's on a quest, hoping to find treasure and complete her mission. Meanwhile, the kitten continues fighting more monsters like a wyvern, a minotaur, and a golem, etc. Each time he gains new abilities, like the power to fly and use fire, ice magic, and poison fangs. One day, the kitten finds a glowing treasure chest. As soon as the chest opens, he realizes it's a trap. A powerful force from the chest pulls him in and teleports him to a dark, dangerous location. He finds himself standing on the back of a massive earth dragon, an S-rank monster. The dragon wakes up, furious that its rest has been disturbed. The kitten tries to defend himself by using his rock-howling skill, but the dragon is too strong. The kitten activates his iron body skill, hardening his body to avoid the dragon's crushing attacks. The dragon is impressed by his resilience, but still, it is too strong. The dragon attempts to crush the kitten with its massive foot. In a last-ditch effort, the kitten activates Ether Edge, a skill that sends sharp light through the air. It cuts into the dragon, wounding it. The kitten uses his flight ability, narrowly escaping the dragon's attacks. But he is exhausted and covered in injuries. He falls, losing consciousness, and feels he is about to die. Just as he is about to give up, Aria arrives. She finds him, bandages his wounds, and feeds him. She even changes her clothes in front of him. The kitten, now feeling safe and cared for, feeling like royalty. He decides that he will protect her and repay her kindness. One day, Aria goes on another mission to fight goblins. Tama insists on coming with her. As they face the goblins, Aria fights them off with her swords. Tama just watches, thinking that maybe Aria isn't as bad at this as he first thought. But then, a goblin mage shows up. It uses magic to attack. It hurls a fireball at Aria, who is caught off guard. Without thinking, Tama rushes in and saves her. He shoves her out of the way and attacks the goblin with his claws, killing it in a flurry of rage. Aria is stunned. She can't believe her cat is stronger than most adventurers. She rewards him by letting him rest on her chest. Later, at the Adventurers Guild, things take a turn. Casman, a rude man with red hair, tries to force Aria to join his party. When she rejects him, he tries to grab her. Tama sees this and launches himself at Casman, biting and scratching him. Casman freaks out and tries to fight back, but Arnold, the guild leader, steps in. Casman runs off, humiliated. Aria adopts Tama officially and names him. Although Tama thinks the name is ugly, he doesn't mind. He's happy to be with Aria. One night, Aria is drunk and decides to give Tama a bath. As they bathe, Aria talks about her past. She shares how demons destroyed her village and how the legendary Sword Saint saved her. This inspired her to become strong and fight for others. Tama, being wise for a kitten, rubs his face against hers to comfort her. The next day, Casman returns and files a complaint against Tama, demanding that the kitten be punished for scratching him. Kasman challenges Aria to a duel. If Aria wins, Tama will be safe. If Kasman wins, Aria must marry him. The duel is tense. Kasman is much stronger, but Tama doesn't give up. He steps forward to defend his master. In the end, Tama uses his skills to defeat Kasman. The villagers are initially scared of Tama's power, but they soon realize that he is not dangerous. Aria wins the duel, and the crowd cheers. Tama, now accepted by everyone, he has found a new purpose, to protect Aria and live happily by her side. The next morning, Tama wakes up on Aria's pillow, snuggled close to her face. Feeling playful, Tama licks her pointy ear gently. Aria makes a small moaning sound, which startles Tama. He quickly jumps off the bed and watches her from a distance. Aria, looking cheerful, asks for more cuddles, but Tama stays cautious and observes her carefully. Later, Aria and Tama head to visit Vulcan, a blacksmith. Vulcan warmly greets them and Tama is surprised by Vulcan's appearance, her tiger ears and strong build. But she quickly approaches the kitten, excited to meet him. Vulcan has heard a lot about Tama and is eager to see him in person. Aria formally introduces Tama and Vulcan. Vulcan immediately asks if she can hold him. Aria places Tama in Vulcan's hands, and both women are delighted by his playful behavior. Later, Vulcan asks Aria what she needs, reminding her that her weapon is still being worked on. Aria explains that she needs special, durable armor for Tama. Vulcan agrees to make it. She takes Tama's measurements, noting that he is still a growing kitten. She plans to add magical adjustments to the armor so it will continue to fit him as he grows. While Vulcan works, Aria turns to Tama and asks if he would like to join her on adventures. Tama agrees, promising to protect Aria no matter what. Vulcan works through the night, crafting the armor. By the next day, the armor is ready. When Tama puts it on, Aria finds him adorable. Tama is also impressed. However, Vulcan points out that Aria's swords are still a problem. They are heavy and fragile, and despite remaking them several times, they don't suit her fighting style. She suggests they team up temporarily so she can observe Aria in combat and identify what changes need to be made. The group goes into a dungeon. Tama had heard stories about the strength of tiger people, seeing it in action with something else entirely. When a goblin casts a fire spell at Vulcan, she resists it effortlessly and counters with enchanted flames, defeating the monster in a single strike. Inspired by Vulcan's confidence, Aria prepares to fight next. She faces a fierce orc and uses her acceleration skill to strike. However, the orc blocks her attack and counterattacks, pushing her back. Tama quickly steps in, using his magical shield to block the orc's axe. This gives Aria the opening she needs to finish the fight. While Aria wins the battle, she isn't satisfied with her performance. Vulcan watches her carefully and explains that Aria's longswords are throwing her off balance, making her movements awkward. Determined to improve, Aria asks for advice. Vulcan suggests they move to the next floor of the dungeon to find better training opportunities. On the next floor, they encounter ropers, strange creatures with tentacles. Aria is frustrated, wondering how fighting such weak monsters could help her improve. Tama is worried the tentacles might grab his master in an embarrassing way. Vulcan reassures Aria that these creatures will help her focus on improving her movements and balance. Aria charges at the first roper using her skill. However, the creature's tentacles force her to retreat. As Tama watches, he notices that Aria's usual fighting style isn't effective against the ropers. Things get worse when the roper knocks one of her swords out of her hand. Despite this, Aria refuses to give up and continues to fight. Without the weight of two swords, her movements improve. She is faster, more balanced, and able to dodge the tentacles more effectively. For the first time, she successfully lands an attack on the roper. Unfortunately, the roper breaks her remaining sword. Vulcan quickly throws her a dagger and the broken blade. Aria uses both weapons, stabbing the creature and defeating it. This success increases her confidence. Aria charges at the second roper. She notices that the enemy's attacks are slow, and she begins to understand that her difficulty in combat came from using weapons that didn't match her style. With better precision, she delivers swift strikes, cutting off the creature's tentacles. However, the tentacles release a sticky substance that nearly covers her. Furious, Aria shouts that such behavior is only acceptable from Tama and attacks the roper with even greater intensity. She cuts off all its tentacles and slices its body in half. She names her new technique Wind Blade, proud of how much she has improved. After the battle, Tama feels proud of Aria's progress. He bites the roper's corpse to absorb its abilities, gaining new powers such as tentacles and mucus. Meanwhile, Aria angrily stabs the roper's remains, still upset about what it did. Later, she admits that using two longswords was an attempt to honor the sword's saint, but now realizes they don't suit her. She feels more comfortable with shorter weapons. Vulcan praises Aria for her improvement and suggests they take a break before continuing further. She leads them to a safe area protected by a philosopher's stone, which keeps monsters away. Seeing the stone reminds Aria of the attack on her village, but she quickly pushes the memory aside to focus on the present. Later, while bathing, Aria talks to Vulcan about her old team. Vulcan explains that the team has split up, with some members starting families and others pursuing different goals. She also warns Aria to keep an eye on Tama, mentioning that elemental cats like him can crossbreed with other creatures. The group continues their journey and eventually encounters a C+ ranked minotaur. Aria is terrified, but Vulcan reassures her that this will be her ultimate test. Aria charges at the minotaur and uses her wind blade technique. However, her attack barely scratches it. Vulcan steps in to help, but even her powerful hammer struggles against the minotaur's defense. Aria continues fighting, landing a strike on the minotaur's eye. The creature, enraged, swings its club wildly, causing a cave-in. Vulcan gets trapped under falling rocks, but Tama uses his Ether Howl ability to free her. Aria delivers a final strike, piercing the minotaur's chest and defeating it. She celebrates her victory with her team. Back at the guild, Aria is officially granted the C-rank title. However, their celebration is cut short when Anna, the guild receptionist, shares troubling news. Many people have gone missing in a nearby city, believed to be victims of demons. Hearing this, Aria asks for all the details, ready to take on her next challenge.